Guidance counselors are calling for help so that they can better help students cope, especially with trauma and violence. Now, here to speak to their dilemma and about the help they need is Rashina Anderson. She's president of the Jamaica Association of Guidance Counselors in Education. Good morning, Rashina.
Good morning,
Morning.
Gareth.
Welcome to Smile. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me.
We're glad to have you here. Guidance counselors perform such an important task and role in the life of students, an outlet for all sorts of pressure that they're under. In some instances, you help to parent them.
Yes, yes.
As well. But let's get right down into the meat of the matter. I mean, it can be difficult because you're talking about a large number of students and a small number of guidance counselors.
That's correct.
Is that where that ratio, is that where the problem really is, or the issue is at the moment? Or?
That is where the main problem is, but it's not the only place where the problem is. So understaff is definitely an issue with a small amount of guidance counselors catering. However, there are other issues because guidance counselors carry a heavy administrative portfolio, which we really could use supporting staff to cover.
Yeah. Let's share with us that administrative portfolio, that long list.
So one of our main role is to create programs that cater to the needs of our students. Now, before you can create the program, you first need to conduct action research, need assessment to find out, to get the data. When you get the data, you create the program, but then you now have to implement. In implementing those programs, we're talking about inviting speakers in, we're talking about creating the schedule, getting all of that background work together. We're talking about doing filing, so guidance counselors have to create files. We have to do our own appointments, so we monitor an appointment book. We must do daily logs. So we're talking about a lot of administrative work that follow through. We must do referrals. So we're doing internal referrals. When we assess the case, we're doing external referrals. And based on the nature of the case, when a case comes in, you have to assess all of that, which may include a home visit, which may include several other background work.
Yep. You've called for social workers to come in to help. Is a social worker and a guidance counselor the same kind of person or no?
We work in similar environments in terms of who we speak to and communicate with, but it's different. So the guidance counselor does more direct therapeutic intervention. So we don't just identify the issue, but we help the client to work through the issue by providing them with coping strategies and so forth. While the social worker on the other end would assist us with the home visits, the community intervention. A perfect example of how social workers can help guidance counselors is by having the case managers. So we currently have case managers that work with guidance counselors in about 30 schools, which are the schools in the zone of operations. Those case managers are social workers. They don't do all the counseling, individual and group counseling that we do, but they help to strategize by outlining a plan to fix this case. So what are the resources? So social workers help to direct service and resources to fix the problem, while the guidance counselor actually does the direct work of working through with the client to get to the
So are you suggesting that the social worker should be a part of the school community, or they come in from outside, or what, them going to work at the school like how you work at your school?
Well, they could. They could.
No, is that what you're asking?
Well, what we ask, it would be good if they're at the school, but what we do find is sometimes when persons come in the school under school administration, to be honest, it limits their intervention because a principal then has the authority to say you can or you cannot. But when a social worker comes in, for example, the case managers come under the Ministry of National Security, then they have more leverage to work in terms of their intervention in the communities, reaching the parents and all the other factors.
And one more before Garth, do they take the place of you if the social worker comes in, or they work with you?
They work with us. So we're asking for partnership to cover some of the grounds. For example, quickly, when having a social worker, it could take from us having to do the home visits and the community intervention of finding parents, hunting them down, as well as making that connection with external agencies. So it's a partnership we're asking for and not a replacement.
Yeah.
No, I didn't say replacement.
Right.
A supplement.
Yes.
Now, One of the things that we'll be talking about later on this morning is about the anti-gang week, right? And we're seeing more of those types of maladaptive behaviors,
Oh, yes.
I'm guessing here, in our schools. So we're talking about, is gambling still a thing? Are gangs in school? Obviously, violence and so on. Lots of trauma, which you have to help to support these students. Mm-hmm. Let's talk through that.
So Gareth, gambling is more than a thing these days, and Rise Life can give you some statistics on that. We're seeing gambling more than ever in our schools. Gangs still exist, but when we talk about bullying, we're now seeing a shift. So it's not only physical now, but it has gone to the social space where persons bullying you on your social media platform, your WhatsApp status, they'll place pictures of you and so forth. So those things are really happening. Especially coming out of COVID, we have seen several changes in the maladaptive behaviors and the exposure of our students. So it's not just gang, so we have the bullying, we have the gangs are there still, we have the gambling, but we have so sexual exposure that is rampant. Yeah. So our children now, it's no longer in secret and hiding place, it's in classrooms and corridors and that kind of a thing.
Yeah, and that's coming from one side where you're observing these things, but what are students coming to you with as well? Because that's the other side of it.
So we are facing, we hear students complaining about neglect, which is lack of supervision at home. Most of the time when they go home, they're by themselves because whether the parents are not there or they're out at some bar, gambling or something, we hear them complain about the sexual harassment because of the household. So we're having cousins and uncles and whoever coming in and the sharing of space. Children will tell you, oh, miss, it's just a curtain that part my bed from that person's bed. So they complain about the harassment, the lack of supervision, financial need. It is really great.
What kind of gambling we're talking about?
We're talking about ace, so they'll throw dice.
Okay.
Those are some of the things they do. They also gamble with their social media games. So even their Free Fire and their PUBG, you pay to use my account and that kind of a thing.
Wow.
So they're doing services. Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to quote something that you said. All guidance counselors need a therapeutic room at their school with resources such as fountains, play therapy items, calming music, art and craft items. I left out this one deliberately to the last. I understand why you want it, but explain why you want a punching bag in a therapeutic room.
I'm happy you brought that up, Neville, because we really do therapeutic rooms. Punching bags, we find that many of our students struggle with anger. So for instance, I'd have a student who literally intentionally stopped performing because his parents don't care about him and he's carrying a lot of anger. There are boys who come in who witness domestic violence at home and then can't punch his stepfather. But guess what? When they come in with all that level of anger, giving them a punching bag and say, hey, just go over there and let it out. They punch it out, but they're punching it out in a positive way, releasing the energy positively. And that is why we're asking for the therapeutic rooms. When you enter the space of the guidance counselor, it should bring about a different feeling.
It's like an oasis.
Right, an oasis for them, which it also make our work easier in them becoming comfortable in the space to talk with us, to just express themselves and share what is happening. So we really do want that soothing. Earlier I heard the orchestra and we were saying, man, that is so soothing. When a student come in and get that kind of a thing, it makes a world of a difference for them.
One of the things we haven't spoken about though is you're asking for other types of support, but who counsels the counselors? Because I know you handle a lot of the heavy stuff in high volume. What about you and your own mental health and well-being?
And I'm happy you brought that up, Guy, because the truth is, we encourage our counselors to do therapeutic sessions as well, so they can have their own counseling psychologists, but then we have to pay for these services. And it's one of the things that we would ask.
Out of your pocket?
Yes, it's one of the things we would ask that our government consider offering that kind of a service to help guidance counselors get the help they need with their mental health.
So guidance counselors, and I'm being serious here, can counsel guidance counselors?
Yes, we can. So through
and you would still have to pay for that?
So through our
how many guidance counselors at your school?
3 of us.
So could another one counsel you and you counsel another one?
Most certainly we operate as supporting staff for each other. But then sometimes if the issue is coming from within the school environment, all of us probably facing it, and so all three of us may need counseling.
Echo chamber, no, we start.
But we do help each other, especially through the association. We provide that kind of a support through membership and welfare or chaplaincy unit, and we have persons at the master's level who are counseling psychologists. So we do offer that support to our members.
Thanks for your service.
You're welcome.
We need you. God bless you.
Thank you for having me.
And you are at Garvey Maceo.
Yes, I am.
Cubans. They call themselves Cubans because the school was built by friends from Cuba.
As president of the Jamaica Association of Guidance Counselors in Education, Rashina Anderson.
By the way, Jose Marti was also built by GC Foster
Foster,
sisters
and brothers.
Student Cubans also. All right, when we come back from the break, Anti-Gang Week, Garth said that earlier, and we promote safety and security. Soon come.